everyone, this is Tarika Singh, and today I'm going to bring you a recipe which really just reminds me of my childhood growing up here in Mumbai, where we used to go out to restaurants to eat continental food, and we would eat things like this chicken meatballs in creamy sauce. Now I'm of course going to add some mushrooms. First we'll make the meatballs and then we'll make a really nice creamy sauce and serve it up on a bed of mashed potatoes. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with adding a bunch of flavors to some chicken mince here. That's what I'm using. Here I have some Parmesan, breadcrumbs, minced garlic, black pepper, salt, chili flakes, and some dried herbs. These are mixed herbs. You can use plain oregano if you have that at home. I'm going to add all of this in one go to the chicken mince. And what I also have here is half of an egg that's been whisked. For this quantity of chicken, I'm only going to use half. Otherwise, I end up using full when I'm cooking for more people. And all in one go will I mix this up. With a very light hand and not with like rough mixing, I've mixed all of the ingredients into the mince. And now we're ready to do some shaping. I've lightly greased my hands. It just makes it much easier to shape the meatballs. And now I'm just going to see that's such a breeze when you've just lightly greased your hands. And I'm going to shape them into like lemon-sized balls. You see just how light and fluffy the mixture is. All done. Now I'm just going to let this rest in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes so that they can firm up slightly before we fry them. After 30 minutes, I've heated up some olive oil here, and what I'm going to do is sear and cook these meatballs. So I'm just going to use my hand, actually, so much easier that way. Just add that in. The oil does not need to be piping hot. Remember, this is olive oil, so it has a much lower smoking point. After it gets that initial sizzle, what I'm going to do is just take the lid of my pan, cover this so that it steams and cooks from the other side and does not get dry. We don't want dry meatballs for sure. By covering and cooking the meatballs on all sides like this, we're just making sure that it gets cooked about 80 to 90% in the pan here and the rest in the sauce when we're done cooking. And this way we also retain all the moisture and the flavor in the meatballs. One batch done, and I'm cooking the next one exactly the same way. As we move on to making the sauce, you'll realize that a lot of the ingredients I'm going to use are the same as what I used in seasoning the meatballs. So we're working in the same family of ingredients. Okay, so all the meatballs are cooked. Now that same pan, I've reduced the olive oil. I've taken out the excess because remember, this is creamy sauce, not greasy sauce. Remember that. So now I'm going to start cooking the sauce to give it a lot more flavor. First thing is some finely chopped white onion. Can increase the heat slightly. Lovely. Finely minced garlic. Saute both of them together. Next up is some chili flakes. Lovely. Lemon zest is always the last to go in because it can burn easily. So this is the zest of one whole lemon. Saute that. Oh God, it becomes fragrant immediately. It's so beautiful. And I have some finely chopped mushrooms, which I will now saute in this beautiful mixture. So everything is sauteed really well and the mushrooms are cooked through. So I'm going to turn off the flame and just empty out this mixture here onto this plate, but only momentarily. Okay, so now for the sauce, I'm first going to make a roux and then use some chicken stock. Now you're probably used to seeing white sauce made with milk. Now when you use this chicken stock or vegetable stock, it's called veloute. And just like that, our butter is starting to melt. As soon as the butter melts, I'm going to add equal quantity of flour and use a whisk to just cook it. Flame is on low. And now just add the chicken stock slowly in batches. Initially, some lumps do form, but the idea is that by the time you're done with this, you should keep whisking it so that there are no lumps in this sauce. Initially, it's a little okay, but it should be gone by the time you're done adding all the chicken stock. There you go. You see that there are no lumps. Just keep adding this and stirring. We still have more things to add to this. I'm going to add some Worcester sauce and some herbs, dried herbs. And just before we add the meatballs back into this, I'm also going to add a little bit of pepper. Not too much. I've added the mushrooms back into the pan, and now I'm just going to add the meatballs back in. Make sure that they are nice and submerged. Take the flame up to high, and once it starts to bubble, we'll reduce the flame and let it cook, because remember we had cooked this 80 to 90% of the way through. Look at this bubbling beauty. Now this is nearly done. The sauce has also thickened up. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm just going to turn off the flame, and we have one last step. And that last step is to add some cream. This is the regular cream that you get in the market. And stir that in a little bit at a time. Once you've added the cream, just let it cook slightly on a low flame. Remember, you don't want it to boil. Just about a minute or so that the sauce thickens up slightly. That's perfectly cooked. I'm going to turn off the flame. At this point, you also want to check this for salt and see if you want to add any salt. I'm good with the salt in this dish already. I'm going to take a spoon and show you the consistency of the sauce. It's rich, it's creamy, it's got mushrooms, herbs. It's just so beautiful. Served on a bed of creamy mashed potatoes and sprinkled with some parsley. Don't you just want to take some crusty bread and just tuck into this right now? Just see how beautifully cooked it is from the inside. Perfect and juicy. My building is completely sealed. I can't go out, so I had to use dried parsley instead of fresh. So I really hope you try this dish, and when you do, say a prayer for me. Building is sealed. I'm a little scared, and stay tuned to get curried for loads more.